Have you ever stopped to think about how you start your day? Do you let the world around you dictate your mood? Or do you take control of your own mindset? In those first moments when you wake up, the outside world is like a storm waiting to pull you in. But what if I told you that true strength comes not from resisting the storm, but from mastering your own mind? Imagine this. You stand by the window, a cup of coffee in hand. Outside, the rain begins to fall not harshly, but quietly, like a gentle reminder from nature. The rain can soak your clothes, but it only truly chills you when you let it seep into your mind. Life is the same way. The uncertainties, the losses, they're just passing rain showers. They can't touch you unless you open the door and let them flood your thoughts. How many times have you found yourself collapsing not because the world was too cruel, but because your mind wasn't strong enough to stay upright in the storm? Now, imagine this. If you could master your thoughts, stay calm amid chaos, and not let your emotions override your reason, what could ever truly hurt you? The outside world holds no real power over us if the inner self is well trained. A strong mind is the most unbreakable fortress. When you learn to control your reactions, you stop being a victim of circumstance and start becoming the author of your destiny. As Epictetus once said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters, and that is where the journey of training the mind in the spirit of Stoicism begins. Principle number 1, the dichotomy of control. It's raining. Each heavy drop hits the awning with a steady rhythm, a reminder that we don't control this world, but in your hands. You have a warm cup of coffee, just enough to soften the chill sneaking in through the cracks. This contrast between the cold outside and the warmth inside mirrors the first principle of Stoicism. No matter what happens externally, your mind can remain steady if you train it well. The first step in this journey is understanding what is in your control and what isn't. In Stoicism, this is called the dichotomy of control. It's the central pillar, the root of all other Stoic thought. Epictetus once said, "Some things are up to us, and some things are not up to us." Simple, yet perhaps one of the hardest truths to live by, especially when your mind is flooded with anxiety. Pause for a few seconds and really think about that line. Some things are up to us and some things are not. So, why do we keep letting worry eat into our sleep, our conversations, and our waiting hours? The root of anxiety lies in trying to control what doesn't belong to us. We worry about what others think of us. We worry about the outcome of an interview, an exam, or a confession. We want everything to be within our reach, but the world doesn't work like a remote control. It's complex, chaotic, and, ironically, also freeing. It's not under our control. Take Jack's story. A final year student on the brink of adulthood. After years of hard work, he finally gets a chance to interview at his dream company. Jack prepares everything he can. He studies the company inside and out, practices common questions, and even rehearses in front of a mirror to fine-tune his tone and facial expressions. He walks into the interview focused, determined to prove himself. But once it's over, the real test begins. The waiting period. Jack falls into a spiral of thoughts. He replays every answer, tries to read the interviewer's expression, rewinds the entire scene as if he could change the result. He loses sleep. He worries. He feels powerless because the thing he's clinging to is no longer in his hands. What Jack is doing is letting his mind latch onto something he can't control. The outcome, like all outcomes in life, isn't his anymore. It depends on the hiring committee, the other candidates, and even the interviewer's mood that day. The only thing Jack still owns is his mindset, his response to not knowing. If Jack truly understood the dichotomy of control, he would realize that he's already done his part. He prepared thoroughly. He showed up with sincerity. The rest is no longer in his hands. And because of that, there's no reason to beat himself up. Stoicism doesn't ask us to be indifferent or to stop trying. On the contrary, it demands radical ownership of what we do. It's about controlling our actions, our words, and our choice of response. But it also teaches us a different kind of strength, the strength of acceptance. Acceptance that many things in life won't go our way, and that's okay. Here's the simple but powerful truth. Once you anchor yourself in your own actions, 80% of your anxiety starts to disappear on its own. A mind that clearly understands the boundary of its responsibility is a mind that doesn't torment itself. No emotional storm can shake someone who knows, I've done my part. The rest I let go. The problem is that we're not taught to think this way. The education system, social media, and even advice from friends, everything revolves around outcomes. Did you achieve it? Did you succeed? What do people think? But Stoicism is a quiet voice that cuts through the noise. It calls us back to ourselves. Your behavior is the only real job you have in this life. Tomorrow, when you wake up, ask yourself, what's in my control today? By practicing this, you're already on your way to mastering the art of response and living with intention. So, let's take a deep breath and move forward with clarity. Stay tuned for the next principle, where we'll dive deeper into how mastering our reactions can create an unshakable foundation for the rest of the day. As we've just seen, training the mind to control our reactions is a powerful way to stay calm and steady, no matter what life throws at us. Now, let's dive into another essential Stoic practice that will help you turn obstacles into opportunity. Ease for growth. Imagine if every challenge, every setback, could be seen as a chance to strengthen your mind. This is the art of reframing. Number 2. Reframing everything as training material. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This isn't just a philosophical motto, it's a way of living. It's a perspective that sees life as one vast training ground, where everything from anger and failure to sorrow is a weight you lift. Breath by breath, day by day, reframing, or cognitive restructuring, is the core skill of a Stoic mind. When you start to see obstacles as training material, everything that once felt like it was working against you suddenly becomes your ally. This isn't blind optimism, it's the ability to transform negative situations into opportunities for inner growth. A failure stops being a dead end. It becomes a message. There's still a lesson you haven't finished learning. Take the story of Alice and Felix. an American track and field athlete who is a symbol not just of speed, but of resilience and inner reinvention. In 2016, just months before the Olympic trials for Rio, she suffered a severe ankle injury. At over 30 years old, an age many consider past the peak of an athlete's career. This injury could have been the end. But Felix didn't see it that way. Instead of sitting still and lamenting her misfortune, she shifted her focus from competition to reconstruction. During her recovery, she didn't just treat the injury. She did what many athletes neglect. She strengthened the small stabilizing muscles, improved flexibility, and refined her movement mechanics. She didn't just recover, she came back stronger. At the World Championships in 2017 and 2019, she continued to win gold medals, and by 2022, she retired with 11 Olympic medals, making her the most decorated track and field Olympian in history. Felix didn't succeed despite adversity. She succeeded because she learned and grew through it. That is the essence of Stoic strength, turning hardship into training. If your mind isn't trained, adversity can crush you with loss, insecurity, and disappointment. But if your mind is trained well, you won't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Instead, you'll ask, "What lesson is hidden inside this moment?" Imagine being rejected after a job interview. The disappointment, the embarrassment, it can weigh you down for an entire week. But if you have the patience to ask, "What lesson is hidden in this situation?" you might discover that you didn't research the company well enough, that your communication skills need improvement, or simply that the opportunity wasn't right for you at this moment. All of it, if you're willing to see it, can be fuel for growth. Reframing setbacks doesn't happen in one sitting. It's a habit. Just like muscles need resistance to grow, the mind needs adversity to toughen up. The crucial part is this: don't let adversity define you. You redefine adversity. That is the power of reframing. This is the moment when the obstacle becomes the path. But Stoicism doesn't lull you into comfort. It demands that you stay sharp, take initiative, and remain disciplined with your mind. It forces you to face reality, but not fear it. And through that, you don't grow because life gets easier. You grow because you learn to turn difficulty into development. Remember the words of Marcus Aurelius: "What stands in the way becomes the way." Easy to read, harder to live by. To embody that quote, you have to turn every stumble into a step forward, every failure into a lesson, and every day, good or bad, into a workout for the mind. Are you struggling? Good. That's your test. That's your training material. Take a deep breath, write down the lesson, and keep moving forward stronger, clearer, more grounded. That's the art of reframing. When you choose to see differently, the world shifts with you. But what if reframing is how you respond after something happens? What if there's a way to prepare your mind beforehand? Sounds counterintuitive to everything you've been taught about positive thinking, doesn't it? In the next part, we'll explore why the Stoics deliberately imagined the worst-case scenario and how this practice helped them live more peacefully, happily, and resiliently than most of us today. Ready to dive deeper? Stay tuned as we've Seen, the Stoic practice of preparing for the worst doesn't come from pessimism, but from the power of mental training. Now, let's dive into a powerful Stoic principle that helps you build resilience. Negative visualization, a practice that can shift your mindset and help you face life's challenges with strength and clarity. Principle number 10. Negative visualization. Imagining the worst to live the best before the COVID-19 pandemic. Blue Bottle Coffee, a renowned American specialty coffee brand, was thriving. They were opening new stores in Tokyo and Seoul, preparing for deeper expansion into the European market, and their cafes were always packed. The media praised them, and investors were eager. But then, COVID-19 struck like a dark storm. Lockdowns paralyzed their entire retail system, while many other brands struggled or even went bankrupt. Brian May, CEO of Blue Bottle, did not panic. Instead, he and his leadership team returned to a core Stoic principle: prepare for the worst. They restructured the entire operation, going back to their startup roots. They filmed videos manually, packed coffee in a small warehouse, and trained employees like a special forces unit. They didn't wait for the new normal, they trained themselves to master the abnormal. When the world reopened, Blue Bottle didn't just survive. They surged ahead. Why? Because, in their minds, they had already lived through the crisis long before it happened. This wasn't just a business strategy, it was a vivid expression of an ancient Stoic mindset. Negative visualization, imagine loss, hardship, even disaster, as a way to live better. It may sound paradoxical, even pessimistic, but in truth, it's a method to train your mind so that nothing can truly harm you, because you've already prepared for it. Stoics don't advocate for pessimism. They teach us not to rely on hope alone, but to equip our minds with a shield of readiness. When you imagine that one day you might lose what you have, your job, your loved ones, your health, every present moment becomes more vivid, more precious. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and philosopher, once wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This isn't meant to frighten us, but to wake us up to live without delay, to love without hesitation, and to realize that everything we have today could be gone tomorrow. So, we should never take it for granted. In practice, many people have applied this as a psychological exercise, imagining each morning what it would feel like to lose their job, their reputation, or someone they love. At first, the feeling is heavy, but gradually, we learn to sit with that feeling like a friend, not letting it consume us, but letting it teach us to live with greater awareness, not to live in fear, but to live with strength. Just like a warrior who trains with twice the weight, so when the real battle comes, every challenge feels lighter. And the amazing thing is this: when you visualize the worst-case scenario in advance, you also learn how to transform your emotions instead of being ruled by them. Instead of panicking when risks arise, you'll find yourself thinking, I've thought about this before. And your response becomes deliberate, not reactive. Someone once asked, does imagining negative outcomes make us live with a negative mindset? The answer is, if you do it to avoid reality, then yes. But if you do it to strengthen your inner world, the opposite happens. You live more positively than ever. In a world full of uncertainty, the average person hopes things will be okay, but the Stoic quietly trains their mind to be okay, even when things aren't. That is the difference. When you train yourself to accept the worst even if only in your imagination, you're also giving yourself the power to live freely, free from fear, free from shock, free from unrealistic expectations. That kind of freedom is the foundation of an unshakable inner life. So take a few minutes each day. Imagine that tomorrow you might lose something important, and then look at your life now and realize you still have it. A phone call, a smile, a quiet afternoon. You don't have to do anything grand. Just recognize that you're living in the presence of something you once thought you couldn't bear to lose, and then you'll start to live differently. What do you think about the practice of negative visualization? Have you ever tried it? Share your experience or what you're most afraid to lose in the comments below. Who knows? That might just be the first step to valuing it even more. Principle number 11, voluntary hardship. Embracing discomfort. Have you ever taken a cold shower on a winter morning, even though no one told you to? Not for your health, not because it's trendy, but simply to discipline yourself, to willingly step into discomfort and see how long you can endure it. It might sound silly, but in Stoic philosophy, that small act reflects a deeply powerful principle: voluntary hardship. A Stoic doesn't wait for adversity to come knocking to learn resilience. Instead, they build discipline deliberately in everyday life by facing intentional discomforts, waking up at 5 a.m., walking instead of taking a ride, eating plainly despite having access to more. This isn't extreme asceticism. It's mental, training a way to develop a reflex. When hardship comes, you're already familiar with it. You can't control the weather. It might rain just as you're stepping out, derailing your plans. You can't fully control other people either. Your colleague might misunderstand you. Your boss might criticize you harshly, or unexpected work could keep you late. But there's one thing you can always control: your reaction. And that's where true strength lies. It's in how you respond to the world, how you face discomfort, how you embrace the challenge with resolve. In the next section, we explore how facing voluntary hardship can help you build an unshakable inner strength and prepare you for any obstacle that comes your way. Stay tuned. Building on the idea of mastering our responses to life's challenges, let's take a deeper dive into a crucial Stoic principle that transforms adversity into an opportunity for growth. If we can train ourselves to embrace life's obstacles, they cease to be barriers and instead become powerful tools for strength. Principle number 4, voluntary hardship. Embracing discomfort. Have you ever taken a cold shower on a winter morning, even though no one told you to? Not for your health, not because it's trendy, but simply to discipline yourself, to willingly step into discomfort and see how long you can endure it. At first glance, it may seem like a trivial act, but in Stoic philosophy, that small challenge represents a deeply powerful principle: voluntary hardship. A Stoic doesn't wait for adversity to come knocking to learn resilience. Instead, they build discipline deliberately in everyday life by facing intentional discomforts, waking up at 5 a.m., walking instead of taking a ride, eating plainly despite having access to more. This isn't extreme asceticism. It's mental, training a way to develop a reflex. When hardship comes, you're already familiar with it. Jack Dorsey, the former CEO of Twitter, is an example every week. He would walk 8 kilometers as part of his personal training to stay grounded. Dorsey would say that walking to work wasn't just about physical exercise. It was a reminder to himself that comfort is not a default. When you train yourself to live without certain comforts, like safety, control, or convenience, you learn not to depend on them. You cultivate a sense of sufficiency from within. In a world where everything is optimized for ease, the idea of voluntarily doing hard things may sound counterintuitive, but that's exactly what gives it power. You can spend your life avoiding discomfort, or you can train yourself to become unshakable, composed under pressure. That is the inner freedom that Stoicism aims for. No one can take away your peace unless you hand it over. Voluntary hardship is about taking on small difficulties day after day, not to prove anything, but to listen to that deeper part of yourself that wants to be stronger than yesterday. No one sees you waking up at 5 a.m. No one claps when you take the stairs instead of the elevator. But you know, and that knowing is the foundation of quiet strength. This practice also helps soften the shock of life's sudden changes. When you're used to choosing the hard path, obstacles feel less like ambushes. Like weight training, no one lifts 100 kilograms on their first try. Likewise, you can't expect yourself to stay calm through a job loss, a breakup, or a crisis if you haven't trained your mind under small daily pressures. Of course, this kind of training doesn't have to be physical. For many, the hard thing might be speaking the truth in a conversation, saying no to an inappropriate invitation, or sitting still without checking your phone for an hour. Everyone has a different threshold. What matters is choosing something that's not easy and sticking to it without needing validation. Voluntary hardship doesn't promise you'll become invincible, but it does promise this: you won't be caught off guard. When challenges arise, you won't collapse because you've already laid the groundwork. Even if no one witnesses your training, the results will speak loudly in the calm, steady way you face what makes others break. So, once we've trained ourselves through these small chosen difficulties, once we're ready to walk into real adversity, can we go one step further? Can we learn to love adversity itself? This Stoic principle challenges us in a profoundly beautiful way. I'm 40. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll explore how embracing adversity not just as something to endure, but as something to love, can be the ultimate key to resilience and peace. Picking up from where we left off, let's continue exploring how Stoicism can help us build a stronger, more resilient mind through daily practices. We've already discussed how to embrace adversity, but now, let's delve into one of the most effective tools the Stoics used to strengthen their inner world. Journaling. Principle number 6. Journaling. Talking to yourself. Imagine this. It's raining outside, and you sit by the window, watching the raindrops tap softly against the roof, like the steady breathing of a day fully lived. On the table, A warm cup of coffee rests next to a small notebook, your trusted companion. This isn't a dramatic diary filled with exaggerated emotions, but a space where you, just like Marcus Aurelius, have conversations with yourself every evening. The Roman emperor would write not for others to read, but for himself to reflect. It was his way of adjusting his perception, of separating truth from the illusion created by his mind. Marcus Aurelius didn't write to impress or to complain. He wrote to remember how he lived each day, how he responded to adversity, and most importantly, he wrote so he wouldn't repeat the same mistakes. He asked himself, what part of this is within my control? What part isn't? That simple yet profound question is Stoicism in its purest form, compressed into a few lines that serve as a compass for the soul. Now, picture this. A sales rep has just missed out on closing a major deal after chasing the client for an entire week. Instead of turning to frustration, a beer, or a midnight rant in a group chat, he opens his notebook and writes just 3 lines. The first, the client declined because they weren't convinced of the product's value. The second, I'm disappointed and feeling discouraged. And the third, it's not the rejection that hurts, but how I interpret it. I can control my ability to improve listening skills. 3 lines. That's all it took to transform a failure into a lesson. 3 months later, he became the top performer on his team, not because of luck, but because of those quiet, honest nights with himself, turning his setbacks into growth. Journaling doesn't require you to be a writer, nor does your life need to be filled with dramatic events. It asks for a small commitment, just a few minutes every night to pause and have a conversation with yourself. Because when you write down your thoughts, you pull them out of the emotional spiral where everything seems exaggerated. Writing slows you down, and when you slow down, you start to see things clearly. This practice, when cultivated into a habit, becomes a gym for the soul. Each sentence you write is a weight lifted, lifting your awareness, your responsibility, and your ability to manage your reactions. You might not notice a difference the next day, but just like building a strong body, building a resilient mind takes time. More importantly, journaling helps you separate yourself from the waves of emotions. When you write, you're no longer the person drowning in chaos, but the one observing yourself in that chaos. You become a witness to your own life, a position of clarity and power. The Stoics don't tell you to deny your emotions. They teach you not to let emotions take the wheel. And in that sense, journaling becomes your co-pilot, guiding you back on track whenever life throws you off course. In today's world of social media, where everyone writes to be liked or praised, journaling is a rebellious act. It's writing for no one to read, writing to live deeply, not broadly, writing to dig inward, not leap outward. And that's where the strength of your inner world is forged, because nothing can truly harm you if your mind has been trained to observe instead of react. Journaling is the quiet yet powerful tool that helps you build that strength day by day. If you're unsure where to start today, try this simple tip. Write just 3 lines. What happened? How did you feel? A Stoic perspective on it. Do this every night. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be honest, just like Marcus Aurelius did, just like you can start doing tonight. By embracing this daily practice, you'll begin to see the world differently, more clearly, more steadily, and more purposefully. As we explore this practice further, it's important to remember that the key to Stoic journaling lies not in perfection, but in reflection. Are you ready to make that shift? If so, let's move on to the next principle and explore how this journey can take your resilience to the next level. Stay tuned. Continuing from where we left off, let's delve deeper into the next transformative step in the Stoic journey. How the practice of inner strength can transcend the self and ripple out into the world around you. Principle number 7. Sympathy, connecting and serving the community. Imagine this. It's a turbulent world outside. News headlines are filled with natural disasters, wars, and a constant flow of negativity. Yet, in the midst of all this chaos, there are still people quietly doing good, without seeking any attention or recognition. This is where we discover that inner strength isn't just about standing firm in the face of adversity. It's also about reaching out to help others during their times of need. This is the essence of sympathy, a concept often misunderstood, yet deeply ingrained in Stoic philosophy, contrary to popular belief. Stoicism doesn't promote detachment from society or living like an island. Rather, it teaches us to understand our role as part of a greater whole. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, made it clear when he said, "What brings no benefit to the hive brings no benefit to the bee." Stoicism recognizes that we are not solitary beings. We are part of a larger interconnected whole, a cosmos where every living thing shares a common thread. The Greek word sympathia refers to a profound empathy with the order of the whole, not just a shallow emotional response, but a rational, conscious connection grounded in the understanding that everything is linked by fate. This perspective calls for a shift in how we view the world. Instead of seeing life as me versus them, it encourages us to see it as us, a shared human experience of both suffering and resilience. Let me tell you a story. In a small town in Kentucky, flash floods had just devastated the area, washing away roads and disrupting the water supply. No non-profit organization or big sponsorships came to the rescue. Instead, a group of students, using their own money, decided to help. They bought clean water, canned food, and essential supplies, and made their way into the flood-stricken area. The road was still damaged, with landslides blocking the way, so they had to carry each box by hand. I met Jalen, a sophomore nursing student, as he carefully placed 2 large water containers on the porch of an elderly woman's house. His shirt was soaked with sweat, and his hands were red from carrying the heavy loads. Yet, he smiled softly and said, "Every time she says thank you, dear, my mind feels like the pressure lifts. It feels better than finishing a tough exam." That simple sentence wasn't poetic, but it perfectly embodied the Stoic spirit. Giving doesn't weaken you. It's strength training for the soul. Acts of selflessness are how we keep from being swallowed by the chaos of the world. This concept doesn't contradict the Stoic idea of controlling what we can control, the dichotomy of control, because selfless action is a conscious choice. Choosing to help others is like planting good seeds in a volatile world. You refuse to be swept away by collective helplessness. And while helping others may ease their suffering, it also keeps your own mind from being consumed by fear, doubt, and meaninglessness things that are so easily triggered in today's world of constant information overload. You don't need to do anything grand. You don't need to start a charity or give up all your personal time. Sometimes simply offering a free career coaching session to someone in need, donating blood, or sending a sincere message of encouragement online can be enough to practice sympathy. What truly matters is not the scale of your actions, but the rhythm and consistency with which you approach them. Here's a small challenge I'd like to offer. Once a week, do something selfless intentionally, not for recognition or to post on social media, but to test this truth. Your mind will grow stronger and more peaceful after each act. Think of it as your mental weightlifting. Just like muscles need resistance to grow, your inner strength needs the challenge of kindness, especially when no one expects it. Living steadfastly doesn't mean withdrawing from the world. In fact, sometimes true strength comes from being strong enough to lift someone else while you're still healing yourself. Imagine this. It's the first rain of the season. But if each of us carries a quiet flame of connection within, no matter how cold the skies become, our inner world will remain warm enough so no one has to shiver alone. A Stoic morning is a well-trained mind, ready to face whatever life throws at it. We've just explored together the 7 core tools of Stoicism, focusing on what's within your control, embracing adversity, and serving the community with selfless acts. These principles don't just prepare us for the storms of life, they help us weather them with grace and resilience. But Stoicism isn't just about theory. It's about living these principles every single day. So, here's my invitation. Choose one of these tools and apply it to a real situation in your life. Share your reflections in the comments below. Let's continue learning from each other, walking this Stoic path together. Up next, we'll dive into the next principle, exploring how cultivating a peaceful mind can truly transform the way we approach life's challenges. Stay tuned as we continue our journey through Stoic principles. We now arrive at a crucial point, the challenge of facing adversity head-on. Have you ever felt like giving up? We've all been there when the weight of the world seems unbearable, and the idea of pushing forward feels almost impossible. It's in these moments that the tools we've explored today come to life. Each one has the power to strengthen your mind, transform your perspective, and help you stand tall, even when life feels overwhelming. So, which of the 7 tools we've discussed today do you feel most compelled to try first? Perhaps it's learning to embrace discomfort. Or maybe it's journaling to reflect on your thoughts and emotions. Whatever it is, the key is to take that first step. Remember, inner strength isn't built overnight. It takes practice, consistency, and a willingness to keep showing up, even when the road is tough. But once you start, you'll see the subtle yet powerful shifts in your mindset shifts that will help you face the world with calm and clarity, no matter what comes your way. If this video resonated with you, share it. Help spread the power of inner strength and Stoic wisdom to others who may be struggling or searching for a way to cultivate peace in their lives. And, of course, don't forget to subscribe. In our next video, we'll dive into how the great Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful emperors in history, led an entire empire by following just 3 simple morning rules. These principles not only shaped his leadership, but also helped him maintain a calm and focused mind amidst the chaos of ruling a vast empire. You won't want to miss it. Stay tuned.